I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get started. I think we've got about 11 participants or so. For those that aren't familiar, this is SRM Perspectives, Perspectives Live, and we do this, I guess, about now every 3 weeks or so. Kind of typically talk about the intersection between traditional finance and emerging technologies, or fintech. Real happy to have Mart, Voss, and Eric Carter with us today. I'll let you guys do a little bit of introduction about yourselves real quick. But we're going to be talking today about Echo Investments. Is it Echo or Eco? I should know that.
Yeah, but that's a long. I kind of gave up on that
debate.
It was Eco from the start, and then everybody started saying Echo. And as long as you don't say EKO with all caps, then I'm pretty happy.
Well, Eco or Echo.
You can say Eco. Eco is originally, it's been Eco.
Okay. Yeah, of course, I'll screw it up now, but Eco. You guys have an investments as a service, right? Which enables banks and credit unions to offer white labeled digital investment solutions. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're talking about the bringing digital investing to the majority of people out there who, if you happen to be a bank or a credit union client or member, you're likely not getting your investments through the credit union or bank, right? I think I saw something on your website that 53% of their Americans want to invest their money with their bank or credit union, but less than 1% does. And I also looked, and I think it was like 40 to 50% of the adult population has an investment app, and that's an investment app that's not associated with their bank or credit union. And before we get started, I just want to throw something out there. So think about an institution that offers a debit card, a credit card, a checking account, a savings account, a high yield savings, FDIC insurance, we'll just put that in quotes, global money transfers, cash delivery, luxury perks, estate planning, tax advice. Now, you would think that was a bank, right? But you guys probably know I'm talking about Robinhood, which also happens to have margin investing and investments or margin lending. And a lot of the Robinhoods of the world are starting to look a lot more like banks, traditional finance. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I don't want to spend the whole time talking. So Mart, you have a background, I think, as a founder, creator. You've done some creation of trading algorithms, I believe. I think you were a developer one time, a management consultant, a real long history. Eric, I don't know you. I know you're the SVP at Digital Solutions at Bank of New Hampshire. But why don't you guys both talk a little bit about your background, how you've came to know each other, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of the world we're in and investing for the masses.
Who do you want to start with the introduction?
Either one, your choice. It's our webcast. We can do this.
Whatever. No, so we talked a little bit about it originally from the Netherlands. In the past life, I led the tech department of a hedge fund, making algorithms, but not for the 1% basically. But no, in a hedge fund it's basically 0.1%. Thought it could be much better and more scalable. And also one of the main things and I like to tell that story, and it also has to do with where I'm from. Back in the Netherlands, everybody invests their money with their trusted bank. Like, I know my bank, I trust my bank. I typically someone gets a bank account when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. Now the bank knows when I turn 18 and they say, hey, what about an investment account? $10, get started. And that's how everybody does it. Then I came to the US and I want to invest, and I go to a bank that says we do banking, loans, and investments. And they're like, well, if you invest, you have to talk to Bob, and this is his phone number. So I was like, that's weird. Why need to call someone? And then Bob is the financial advisor, who's great, but only for a small group. So that's how we came. That's how we came to the idea. So yeah, it really has something to do with where I'm from. So yeah, quick introduction on me.
Go ahead, Eric.
And then Eric Carter, Bank of New Hampshire, and I've been in banking for 38 years. Been on the retail side and operations side, but at this point, it was 50-50 for a while, but now at this point it's 20 years in operations. So I've been doing this for a while, 3 different financial institutions, and I met Mart through, I believe, our contact. Though we are an Alloy member, we I think met through Q2, which is our online banking provider. So this was something that intrigued me as far as on the innovation side, and it seemed that we know that we've got customers going to Robinhood and other solutions, and it seemed like an opportunity for us to capture that group and have them maybe keep those funds closer to home. We are a mutual bank, $2.5 billion mutual bank in New Hampshire. So for us it was a differentiator for our, with our community banks in the area. And at this point, we're happy. It's going well. We are getting investments. It just surpassed $1 million about after a year of investing and offering the solution. It's about $1.2 million. And, when you're having the biggest
Only
segment of our customers.
Went down to 1.1 million.
Yeah, I was going to mention, what's going on in the market right now. It's not as fun as it used to be, but yeah. So when you have that, your biggest segment is the under $500 group, then we're happy with that number at the moment.
So I should point out that none of this is investing, should be considered investing advice today, right? We are not investment advisors. Should be considered for educational and in entertainment purposes only, probably heavy on the entertainment. But yeah, the market has been crazy. It's funny though, people obviously always do the opposite of what they should be doing when it comes to investing. Because right now I was talking with my kids and they were like, "Dad, the market's down," and I was like, "Yeah, you know what that means? It means it's a buying opportunity. Like if you're willing to buy something when the market's high, why would you not buy it when it's low?" But that's an entirely separate conversation. Eric, let me ask you. So, I mean, I assume that you have had kind of wealth management through like an LPL or a Raymond James or something like that. Is that right?
No, we actually, so that's a good point. So for Bank of New Hampshire, we actually have our own wealth and investment team. So so that was a big concern of us when we started talking to Mart, was that we didn't want to step on toes, really. So we did involve our wealth and trust group during this whole process. So they were part of the process. And they quickly identified that this was a niche that they couldn't satisfy as far as meeting the needs for this segment. So they did find it more to be complementary for our customers who, just want to start investing, dabble in investing. And, so it worked out really well. And it was a nice exercise in collaboration.
We'll circle back to that, Mark, because I think I want to talk a little bit about that as well. I want to remind people too, if you have a question, raise your hand, or if you'd like to be unmuted. And then we will have a Q&A session at the end. So we'll get that out of the way. Mart, I also know you did a ton of research in this space. I mean, you've obviously built out a solution. You did research obviously prior to that, but then you've continued to do research. I was wondering if you could maybe even, I don't put you on the spot, but maybe share some of the research that you guys have done. And Eric, maybe some of the research that you've done that led you to believe that there was an opportunity in this space and there was maybe some underserved folks.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, right? When we were 2 years ago, 2.5 maybe, Bank of New Hampshire is our 6th or 7th live client, I think. But when we had 0, then you make these claims, you say like, we think it's going to increase stickiness. I'm not sure, but probably. We think it's going to do this. We think it's going to do this. And now having 2.5 years of live data, we know so much more. We found that people are almost 4 times. Clients, members, they log in almost 4 times as frequent as they did without an investment account. So let's say I was logging in once every week. Now I'm logging in 4 times a week. It's just a really sticky product, right? And Look, I don't check my bank accounts every day because it's always less money than I think I have. That's first of all. But also because it's just not very, entertaining. It's just one number, and your investment account, it can go up and down, and lately down a lot, but before that up a lot. So it's just really a stickiness machine. So that 4x, that's been a really significant number. We've been looking at our clients with an eco account less likely to ever leave their financial institution. Found that it's 6 times less likely for a bank client with an eco account to leave the financial institution than someone without. Also really, really significant. We, yeah, so the average investment amount, we are at, I think, Eric, you guys are at 2,000 maybe, 2,200. It's around that number. That's really the average. So that's also looking at the financial advisor or the wealth department, that discussion. We are focusing on a completely different segment.
Yes, these are not your wealthy individuals, but these are your Gen Y, Gen X, Gen Z. I might get my gens right. These are younger folks that would not have that opportunity necessarily to invest with their bank or credit union. You're providing with an option, and what I keep telling folks is that, in the next, this number keeps getting closer, but let's say the next 10 years. 5 to 10 years, are we going to see the largest wealth transfer that the world has ever seen as the baby boomers move on and pass that down to the next generation? And if you don't have a relationship with those younger folks that don't have a whole lot of money today and an investment relationship, you're going to miss a huge opportunity. Is that pretty accurate to say?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a long game because if we wanted to be focused on AUM, we would play right now, AUM today, we would play a completely different game. But that's not what we want to do. We have over 10,000 people, even 15,000 at this point, people using our product. The average account balance is $2,000. That's not much. We can also focus on a few high net worth individuals, and we can get to a similar AUM. But what we're doing is giving people their first investment product. 65% of our clients, they've never invested before. We give them a solution where we're saying, you don't have to download a new app. You don't have to share all your information again. You can get started from $10 at the institution that you already know and trust. Now, now that threshold might be low enough, so I will actually try it. Now, today I have $10 or $100, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to have $100 forever, right? In 5 years, 10 years, or that intergenerational wealth transfer, it might be a lot more. And what we've seen is people are really loyal to their first bank or credit union, but they're also very loyal to their first investment solution. So that's again,
that's similar to, I think the stat is still accurate. Most people still have their first credit card. I know I do, and it's one of those things where there's a level of trust that someone trusted in you to have that credit card, and so you've stuck with them. I imagine that's similar from an investment standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my first credit card as well. I also still have my first bank account, and I also still have my first investment account. So I'm a good example of that. But yeah, I think that was very important to see and to realize all of that. And again, like, okay, now you have someone with $100, and I think this is typically where banks were thinking and credit unions were thinking. I mean, if we don't offer this $100 client or member an investment account, it's fine. They're gonna send $100 to Robinhood, to Betterment, $100 of deposits leaving the financial institution. That's not a big problem. But I think financial institutions have been late to realize that Robinhood is playing chess, not checkers. They have completely different. They were not trying to get you $100 deposit. No, they're trying to offer you their high yield savings account and their credit card, and yeah, they're now becoming a bank. They were also not interested in becoming that low threshold financial investment solution for forever. They had a much bigger game plan. So we've seen it a lot with Gen Z and millennials. The first step is almost like the gateway drug. where they open a $100 Robinhood account, but 6 months later they move every single account over from their trusted financial institution to Robinhood.
Let me
Um,
ask Eric a quick question. Eric, what did you ever do? I presume, but the bank has done an outflow analysis. When you looked at that have you guys done an outflow analysis? I would assume beforehand and then maybe afterwards. What have you found, and where was that money going?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do a deep dive or anything, but yeah, we definitely saw that the money was leaving, going to Charles Schwab, Robinhood, Acorn, so yeah, we know the money's leaving. And so that's why we knew that we had a great opportunity here, because, we have direct access to our customers. And, unless you already have an account with Schwab, you don't really want to move that portfolio. We're really going after that younger segment because, for us, it's really about, improving the customer's, health and wealth. And I think, offering something like Eco gives us the ability to do that, and hopefully, stop them going to a Charles Schwab.
Yeah, we looked at did some analysis for some financial institutions. We saw as much as 10% of the outflows were going to the Robinhoods, even the Coinbases of the world, and so kind of a different type of investing than maybe people our age would have thought about.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing that. That's basically the first thing we looked at. Like how's the outflow? And again, the focus shouldn't be as much as in how many millions, but it should be how many people have made a transfer. And that was the most important thing. People think, well, $5 million in outflow, that's not that bad. Because but it came from 4,000 different people. That is bad. And these 4,000 different people, they're not going to have 5 million to invest. Right now they only have 5 million, but in 5 years it'd be 50 or it'd be 100 million.
Yeah, and it's not just the deposits that you should be worried about. It's the relationships you should be worried about, right? Yeah. It's the relationship they're going to steal. The deposits, to your point, are probably low dollar in the grand scheme of things, but it's the relationships that's going to count.
Yeah, it is. So that was also maybe at the start, especially selling to your first financial institution. It was incredibly hard without the data, but it also had a little bit to do with education. And I thought it was always interesting when you offer a new product that doesn't exist. When we would have a lending product, we would replace another lending product. So, the problem is clear and we know why we need a lending product, for example. But digital investing, it was a new product. We would not replace anything or anyone. So it was almost like when you talk to a bank, and I'm actually curious how Eric sees this, but because of course we had this conversation as well. But you're almost like, do you even know that you need this? And I think Eric knew from the start you were interested in it. You looked into it a little bit. But I really feel like the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of, instead of we having to kind of like educate financial institutions why it's important, to them coming to us, and I'm doing my whole pitch and they're saying like, we don't need to know we know we have a problem. You don't have to sell us on the problem. We know that. Just go to the solution. So there's been I've seen quite a big change there, especially compared to 3-4 years ago when we started selling.
Yeah, I went to a lot of the big conferences like Money 2020 and others. Those were specific conversations that you were hearing, was the money that was going out to the fintechs, and the fintechs opposed risks to the banks. And here you have an opportunity where there's a fintech, Mart, your company, and the bank, Eric, your bank, that there's a relationship, right? And there's a partnership there, and you're both getting something out of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's, yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things though. I mean, I think it's we're meeting a need. We know that there's a need, and we like to be, everything to everybody. If we want to satisfy our customers. So, we're the 13th oldest bank in the nation, and I think being mutual helps us be a little bit more, innovative, because we have that flexibility. But like Mart said, I saw Mart's. There's a couple of options we had. but Mart's was really exactly what I had in mind for our customers. And we want something that's, you know, intuitive to use, not intimidating. And you know, I've got two girls in college, and I gave them both money and said, you guys have got to learn how to do this and invest. And it's just funny where they had no interest in doing it, and now they're calling me to tell me about their portfolio and how it's doing. And so, you know, they're learning, and that's what. And I'm not stuffing it down their throats. They're just, I literally gave them the cash and said invest it, and now they're engaged. So I think it's just like that's what my vision for this was really to start. You know, I've through all my years and stuff, you know, working with FBLA in the high schools or junior achievement. And I remember even doing with junior achievement, these exercises on how to invest. So, you know, now to be able to actually have a solution for that segment and have them, you know, really at a point where it's not, they're not going to lose, you know, their shirt. They can dabble if they want to. Like I told my children, you know, every time you get paid, you know, feed it a little bit more. But you know, those are kind of skills, lifelong skills that, you know, we want our youth to have to, you know, hopefully build that wealth.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're not only building an investment portfolio, they're learning financial education, which is really critical. What of your
And I think it's even just, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, but even internally at the bank, I mean, from the front line to the tellers and the BSRs, I mean, once we launched this product, the dialogue that was happening, that everybody was comparing portfolios and seeing how they're, you know, it just really became you know, it just took it was like wildfire that everybody just got engaged. So I think it really is a nice thing to see that, you know, people who were intimidated by investing, you know, now are talking, you know, PE ratios and stuff.
that's
Yeah, I
Just
think
your
that,
customers telling you, I think we know that now.
so I just wanted to quickly jump in that intimidating. It's such a key word in building this product. I really believe that you have many investment platforms, and the way they want to differentiate is by adding more features. Okay, we do margin, we do options trading, we do shorting, we do, and that is really cool for 3% of the users, and for 97%, they're going to be like, look, I don't even know, like a limit order, stop loss order. Why is everything so hard? I just want to do something simple. And when I had my first investment account, and this is a while ago, but you know, I worked in finance all my life, but even I thought it was intimidating. Even I thought it was like, why are I have so many options? And now we're focusing on people that, most of the people that we work with, it's their first investment product ever. So make it a simple, non-intimidating product that you can access directly and natively from your existing financial institution. That's been so helpful. And if there's one compliment that we get from, I think, every financial institution that we work with today, is it's so easy to use, and everybody can use it. And I think that's been probably a big part of the success. And you know, and the reason how we did that, we built this product together with credit unions and banks, and also for credit unions and banks. We were not a B2C app, and then we pivoted to oh well, let's do this, that instead. We built it from the ground up with in mind, we're gonna sell it to, or like we're gonna offer it to financial institutions, and then they will offer it to their members or clients. So I think that's a big part of you know, what Eric was saying. Everybody can understand it, so everybody can join that conversation in the branch. Everybody can now talk about their portfolios and can get excited about it. It's not like you need a certain level or skill to join that conversation, and I think that's been really cool to see.
So you're not doing margin trading?
No, no.
Well, you know, it's funny because you mentioned simplicity. You know, the complexity of some of these financial products is there's danger associated with that as well, and you know, there's always a risk associated with any sort of quote investing, but there's not equal risks depending on the investment product. So I think that's smart. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what the minimum investment amounts are, and then like what kind of investments are available to the customers?
Yeah. So it's the minimum is $10. And we did it on purpose. Like a $10 account does not make us or anyone any money, but that doesn't matter. Because, you could say, starting from $500, an account will, start make us some money. So let's do the minimum at $500. But especially for first-time investors, if you want to try something out and you're not sure about it, $500 is still a lot. Okay, let me just play with my $500. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but here we go. And then again, that the conversion, what percentage of your clients members will want to give this a try will go drastically down if you add in, if it's even 3 digits. So $10 for funding, and then you can start buying stocks, ETFs with about 7,500 fractionable equities starting from $1. So it's all fractionable. I can buy 0.001 share of Nvidia. Yeah, so those are the minimums, and yeah, as mentioned, we wouldn't. I don't think this would work nearly as well if we would have significantly higher minimums. That's just not. That's not what we are trying to do.
Eric, any thoughts?
I think just yeah, I was just going to add that, but in addition to the $10 and that low entry point is also, I like that they have a choice of 3 flavors of investing. So they can do the hybrid model where, Eco builds the portfolio for them, but then as they get a little bit more comfortable, they can start, adding and pulling investments out of that portfolio. And then, they have the self-directed portfolio. So if you want to buy 1,000 shares of GameStop, you can. But then, then you got the one that's locked down. So if someone's like, what, I'm scared, I just want the robo-advisor to do it for me, then they can just do it that way, and it's locked down. They can't, make any modifications to it. So it's just nice that they also have that choice of, based on the comfort level, which way to go on that as well.
So on that hybrid, do they have the Nancy Pelosi model? Is that an available option?
I haven't seen that yet, but yeah.
Actually, I think that's actually a thing.
I've seen it. Yeah, it is a thing. I think you can do it, but no, we don't have that one.
No, it is interesting that you have 3 different options though, that hybrid, self-directed, and lockdown. So the lockdown, what can't you do with lockdown that you could with the other 2?
Yeah, so the lockdown, we also call it pre-built portfolios. Is your very traditional with a core portfolio. We have a technology first and ESG, and then there's different risk levels for all of them. We work with one bank. Not all, but many of their clients have agriculture. They asked us, can you make an agriculture portfolio? So then we will do it for them. So their portfolio, you cannot make any changes to it. It's fixed. We do rebalancing. We do textiles harvesting. That's it. The other end of the spectrum, self-directed, you can do whatever you want, what Eric said. And then the hybrid is really unique. And also, still today, we have more hybrid openings than any other. Hybrid is just a hybrid between the 2. We create a portfolio based on your risk appetite, investment horizon, but also your preferences. If you say, look, I work in healthcare and I like tech and I care about sustainability and female leadership, you can select all of those. And now we create a portfolio. There's basically direct indexing. So it's a subset of the S&P that very much mimics the S&P, but it's very personalized. We still do rebalancing. We still do the textile harvesting, but you can make changes to it. And a lot of people, that's also why what my own, how I look at investing myself is why it was always so black and white. Either I can do everything myself. Like I don't want to do everything myself because I don't know enough. I mean, even I worked in, like when we created like, don't let my past clients hear this, but when we're making trading algorithms in the hedge fund space, it's trading hundreds of millions. Okay, we knew what we were doing, but if I'm going to make my own portfolio, I'm still not like super comfortable. I'm still not know exactly, like every time of the day, I know what stock to buy. No, of course not, because I'm not looking at the stock market 10 hours a day. So I don't know that, many people don't know that, but at the same time, the other option is also not amazing. Like I'm locked, like this is the lockdown, this is portfolio. I can never make any change to it. This is fixed. It's kind of like a little boring. It's like a subset of like it's just a bucket of ETFs. And so the hybrid, that worked really well for a lot of people. And I think that also makes us a little unique, where we offer that hybrid product. Yeah.
Now you guys are integrated through a bank or credit union's mobile banking provider, digital banking provider. Is that typically how that works, or is it like hard coded to the core? Or how does it
Yeah, no.
look
So
like?
we have two ways we can do it. One is just the digital banking integration, and that's also what Bank of New Hampshire done. It makes it really simple. We have integration with Q2, Benno, Alchemy, BankJoy. I'm now working with a few other ones as well, but we already have that integration. We don't require a core integration. So you could get, I mean, that's maybe Eric should comment on it, but I always say to banks, saying like, look, we're pretty turnkey, and I know you hear turnkey all the time, but then the key is really rusty and takes 9 months to turn. So it's not that turnkey at all. And I probably said to Eric a few times, like, look, really super low lift. And I think, Eric, you were skeptical when I said that at first. But I really do believe
I've done this a lot. I've done in 20 years, I've done many projects, and that's the one thing. And this is not a paid endorsement for Mart, but I mean, it's just I've never had an experience where launching a new service, and even with the integration with Q2 was just so easy. Mart's been a pleasure to work with, and he's been really good about constructive feedback. If I'm like, you know what, could you maybe do this, or even if our compliance team, we just had an examination, and if they have a concern, Mart is very receptive. So it's been a good relationship, and at this point in my 20 years, this was the easiest implementation I've ever done. So nothing but praise for Mart and his team.
That's pretty high endorsement. Any have you made any adjustments to the program from when you since started?
Sorry?
Have you made any adjustments? Really, for Eric, yeah, have you adjusted the program any, or pretty much what you started with is where you?
Yeah, so there's a few things, and this is one of the, so we still, almost all our clients, we do digital banking only integrations, but we also offer the core integration. If you really want a core integration, if you want that money to move like directly, we will do it. That way there's a few additional benefits to it. If dividends are paid out, it can go directly to your checking account, stuff like that. If you want that, it's fine. The only thing is, you need a core integration. You add more to the core, the dependency, so you really depend so much on your core. The core is probably going to charge you for it. So most of our financial institutions, almost all of them, they say, well, we like the way it's set up right now. But that's something we added to it. The most recently, we started with one portfolio. Now we have, the pre-built, hybrid, self-directed. This quarter we'll be adding, or we already have it live for one client, actually, the IRAs and Roth IRAs. We have crypto that you can also do stuff from last year already. Most of our financial institutions don't opt into it. They like to, and I kind of understand where they're coming from. They say, what if I can just buy crypto ETFs via self-directed? All these ETFs, they go through an SEC approval process, and I totally follow that. But yeah,
Well,
no, we just,
you might get some more takers on that, because the OCC has come out and rescinded any of that kind of negativity associated with crypto and banks, as well as the FDIC. So it's as long as it's safe and sound banking, I think banks are now good to go. And NCUA has been relatively pro the whole time. So the regulators are changing their direction with this. So you might find some more takers on it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things going on there, but overall, what we just want to be is we want to be a one-stop investment shop. At every stage of the investor's life, we have the right product. So if you're just started to invest, I just want to have a pre-built portfolio built for me, completely managed for me. I want to be hands off. I just want to look. I just don't watch. Then maybe 2-3 years later, you say, I want to have a little bit of. I want to do a little bit. I want to maybe make some decisions. So you get a hybrid portfolio. A few years later, you say, I want to do everything myself. So now you have a self-directed portfolio. Then you're saying, well, you know what? I wanna start working towards like retirement. Then you can open an IRA, a Roth IRA. So in every stage of your investment life, we will have the right product. So instead of having now used 4 or 5 different services, Robinhood, Acorns, Betterment, and Schwab, you can just do everything within your trusted bank credit union. So we've been really working towards that, becoming that one-stop investment shop. And I mean, that's I think the most of the progress has been made there. But last year we didn't do that many updates because we worked on really one big one, and that was just the ability. And this is more than a year ago. But the ability to have multiple portfolios in the same at the same time, and that is actually much harder than you think. Multiple portfolios in the same like broker account. You don't want to have like, oh, I want to have 2 self-directed portfolios, 2 hybrid and an IRA, but now I also have 5 different broker accounts. It's not cost effective. It also have 5 tax statements. It just doesn't make any sense. So a lot of our effort went into that. And now we can see that people are using that very well. I think we still only at maybe 1.2 on average. Every client has 1.2 portfolio. So most people still just only have 1. But we do have people that have 4 or 5 for every child, grandchild, and all their chicken portfolio. So we see that as well.
You're issuing the 1099s, not the bank, for the investments.
Yeah, we do everything there. Yeah, we get a lot of questions about that as well, and I think Eric has asked these questions too. Is also, what do we need to do? Do we need transfers? Do we need to initiate any transfers? Tax statements? Do we need to? And the answer is always like, not really. You don't really need to do anything. A question we get a lot is about support, customer support. So of course, because we white labeled, because we're natively integrated, the bank is gonna receive questions about it. So the bank can always escalate them to us. We have our own customer support team available 10 hours a day. So we can take care of them. The bank can also try to answer the questions themselves first. If it's a really simple one, then probably don't have to escalate it. But I think one of the things, we talk about this a lot, is like, oh, we need to really ramp up our customer support team because we're going to get so many questions about it. I don't know exactly, Eric, how many questions you get related to eco, but I think it also has to do with how simple and how intuitive it is. But yeah. Do you have an idea?
Agreed. Yeah. No, it's not been a lift at all. Yeah, that was one of the concerns, honestly, was like, what was the impact on the call center? Which has been really minimal, if anything at all. I think that's one of probably the biggest risks of this whole project is really internally making sure that your staff does not go off script and start talking about things they shouldn't speak of. So I think that's like the one because I always worry about the frontline person who is really excited about their own personal portfolio and makes some kind of commitment that you're gonna get 22% return. So yeah, so we keep reinforcing that anything about investments goes to eco, but if they just need to know how do I start, where's the app, what's the phone number, we answer the general questions, but anything that's investment related goes right to eco.
Mark, maybe you can ask the question, or Eric, you can answer it if you're comfortable, but what typically for a financial institution, once the app, and I know you've only been in business, you said 6 years, is that right? So, but for some of them been around for a little longer, what percent of their customer base have you seen on like that they're utilizing the app? Is it single digits? Is it double digits?
Yeah, so it really depends. We have a range. Maybe the bottom end is like 3-4%. Our best performers have 10%.
Okay.
I'm still trying to crack a little bit of code, like where that comes from. Of course, like banks doing the marketing or like sending emails out to all their clients, like introducing this product works well. We recently started a championship program that we say, everybody within the bank gets $10 just to become eco champions. What's interesting to see how that's going. We just kicked it off, so we don't really know yet. But yeah, no. So it ranges, but it is 10 times as much, 20 times as much clients as the financial advisor has, for sure.
Well, those numbers are actually higher than I thought. And if someone goes, oh, 3% of my client base isn't that much, I'd kind of challenge them and say, well, what happens if 3% of those customers are no longer with you tomorrow, and all the relationships they've got, mortgages, auto, credit cards, are gone? What would the impact of that be, right? So, I mean, part of this is a retention play as well as an engagement play, as well as it is giving them a product.
And those percentages that I just mentioned, they're all after 1 year. So that typically only goes up. And of course, that graph goes steeper at the start, and then it plateaus a little bit, but it only goes up. We have, from all our live clients, no one has ever seen a drop in users. Even right now, actually, if anything, more people opt into investment accounts, even these days, than ever before. So yeah, it might be 3-4% now after a year, but then that's 2 years, 3 years in, we see that average investment balances only go up, that percentage only goes up. So yeah, just over time, it only becomes more powerful.
That's great. So, I mean, probably, Eric, at the time you picked it, there weren't a lot of other options out there on the marketplace. There are a few competitors now in this space. Mart, how would you differentiate yourself from some of the others that are out there?
There's a few. I think we are the only one that's been live with clients for multiple years. We have a lot of data, and we build our product around that data. We know exactly, Eric knows how seriously we take feedback. We have a channel, it's called Concerns Urgent. Anytime a bank gives us feedback, it goes into the urgent chat. Like, guys, we need to do this in the next 2-3 days. And this is it. We built this product together with, tens of thousands of people using the product, and all the financial institutions, all the clients of those, financial institutions, and people like Eric, but also their clients. I think that really shaped our product to be something unique. I also think we have our offering, so opposed to having just the pre-built portfolios and the self-directed, we're also doing that hybrid, also doing the IRAs, the Roth IRAs now. Big, and I think what I've heard from banks and credit unions a lot is they just want to have one provider. They don't want to have, like, okay, well, for crypto we do this, and for self-directed we do this, and for IRAs we do this, because now you're still working, you filled that gap, but you're working with free providers. So just being that one-stop shop, I think has been powerful as well. But yeah, I think sorry, go on, Eric.
I'm sorry, Mart. No, I was just going to say, but I think that the other nice thing about Eco, as far as the differentiator goes, from what I've seen, is that, my experience has been that, Mart isn't satisfied with just it being done. Like, he keeps tweaking it. And I think, I'm not sure if it's been deployed yet, or it's in process where, you can take that hybrid portfolio that Mart's team built for you and then convert it to a self-directed. So if you like, I really love my portfolio, but now let me drive, you can do that. So I know he's working on things like that. So, and then, having, like Mart said, we started with the hybrid when we launched, and now we have the other two options. So just keeping, evolving the solution makes me happy, because, that's the thing, is that, you don't want it just to get stale. It's he's continually thinking.
Eric, do you see this as a feeder for wealth management at one day? I mean, the AUM on average is like 2,200 for these folks, but like some point they're going to have a sizable portfolio. Is this a feeder for that kind of one-on-one relationship, or Mart, do you see this as something that morphs into that?
No, I think I can speak to, as far as that was, like I said, with having those teams as part of this whole process, that was one of the other things that we discussed, is that, as we keep an eye on these portfolios, it would be a natural progression to do a warm handoff to a customer, say, hey, or just maybe a marketing piece saying, we do have these wealth and investment solutions with our internal team, if you would like to speak to somebody. So yeah, absolutely. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but we definitely see that in the future.
Yeah, then that's also a big thing that we do is we call it our FI portal. So it's kind of like the back end that the bank looks at. So we give you all the data, all the people that are investing, how much you're investing. but also your average, like the average investment amounts, but then we benchmark it to all the other financial institutions that we have. The conversion benchmark to all the other financial institutions that we have. So Eric might look at his dashboard. He's like, oh, well, our conversion is slightly lower than average. Like, how can we get that up? And then we can just recommend best practices. Like, we've been launching and helping new banks with all their marketing. So, you know, they don't have to reinvent the wheel again. You can say, you know, we've seen this campaign work really well. This month is financial literacy month. So, you know, a bunch of blog posts go out. So just stuff like that. I think that's been, but yeah, no, so in that portal, you can also see like, for every single person, you know, if at one point you're over $100,000, you can filter by that. And you can say, oh, these 20 people have a portfolio over $100,000. You know, maybe we will funnel them into the financial advisor. So they give them a call and they say, hey, you want to bring your investments to the next level. I think that's another thing that it's like a funnel of warm leads, because in the alternative universe, these people would have gone to a Betterment or a Robinhood. Now they have $100,000 when they're on Betterment, and now Betterment Advisors is going to reach out to them, right? Because the moment they leave, you have no idea about them anymore. So yeah, I really see that as a funnel of warm leads. And Bank of New Hampshire, I think, has been live for a year now, a little bit over a year, around a year.
That's right, just over, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, so we now are getting to the point that so more and more people, they're getting closer to that threshold where they become interesting for the financial advisor. And with all love, we say like, hey, you know, this is the next step of your investment journey, you know, that take you there. And there's also people that say, no, I think the largest Bank of New Hampshire investor has over $500,000 invested with Vigo. He just doesn't want to leave. He says, look, I like this platform. I don't want to talk to a financial advisor. I want to stay here. But that's also fine, because this was never a potential client for the advisor anyway, right? So that even there, it's not we're taking anything that they wanted, because this person never wanted to work with an advisor. So, yeah, really, what I've seen, it's been a funnel of you're funneling warm leads that direction, of clients, members that else would have gone to a third party and never would have come back.
Makes sense. One more question. So like some financial institutions have a wealth management relationship with like LPL or Raymond James. Have you seen any resistance from them from a contractual standpoint of bringing on kind of your solution as well, or not necessarily?
Yeah, well, so it's a little bit similar to what Eric said. You know, there's always needs to be a conversation. It's like, are you guys competing? We're like, well, no, we explained the whole process, basically what I just explained. And that is the conversation we also had with Bank of New Hampshire. And then they're typically like, okay, you know, we get it. This is great. This is a win-win on both ends. But, you know, I'd be lying if I would say that wouldn't go without having one or two conversations, because typically they're pretty defensive about it and saying, oh, you're going to do investments. No, we do investments. And we normally afterwards, the advisories, the financial advisors or the wealth department is the biggest fan, but that does take some time sometimes.
Yeah, I could see that, but I also could see that once you understand that there's not really an overlap there, that there's plenty of space for both players to play, and to some degree it could be complementary. Well, I want to give our chances. This has been a great conversation, by the way. Really enjoyed it. I always do. I want to give our guests a chance to ask any questions. So if anyone has a question, go ahead and type it in, or unmute yourself, whatever, or we can unmute you, whatever you want. See if there are any questions. We covered a lot, so.
We did. The hour flew by, though.
Yeah, true. So if someone was interested in rolling out or at least learning a little bit more, Voss, Mart, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can always email me, mart@eco.investments. It's always tricky because it's .investments, that's the whole domain. It's not .investments.com. I've been thinking if that would be an actual email address, it would also have a full inbox.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, Mart at eco.investments, or just connect with me on LinkedIn. It should be pretty easy to find.
Yeah, there's many Mark Vosses on LinkedIn. I think there's maybe only one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and if this is something that you potentially wanna see a demo of, you can also go to our website, book a demo there. But there's multiple ways that lead to roads that lead to Rome.
Eric, if someone wants to learn more about Bank of New Hampshire, how do they reach out to you or the bank?
Yeah, same thing. They can go through LinkedIn, or they could email me directly, eric.carter@bnh.bank. So yeah, more than willing to talk to anybody if they're interested in hearing more about eco.
Great. Well, and if anyone wants to learn more about SRM, it's at srmcorp.com. But this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate the time from both of you, and look forward to seeing the continued progress. It's been fun watching what you've been doing, Mart, over the last few years. And Eric, it's been a pleasure getting to know you in this brief amount of time. I hope we keep in contact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Great seeing you again, Larry.
And of course, thank you for all of our guests that attended and sat in and listened. And for those in the future that might be watching this video, we really appreciate all the eyeballs on it and the engagement. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Take care.
Have a
Yeah.
good one.